bench.
At the bench.
At the bench. We're
I gotta
back
get.
after we had a vacation. Actually,
Sorry, I had to get the meeting in progress thing off of my thing there. It was
okay. Yeah,
I couldn't see your beautiful purple.
there is a meeting in progress. So Greg and Rod are back at the benches back after a long hiatus of, I don't know. It's probably been 3 weeks or something.
Well, my incarceration was
Yeah.
an impediment to
Yeah.
video
So
series.
yes. So how you doing?
How are you, bud? Haven't
I'm all right. I'm pretty good.
I missed this little electronic goo-gaw.
Yeah. So since last we talked, what has happened in your world?
Gas has gotten very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're entering the summer concert season, and I got a bunch of things coming up.
All right.
I'm very fortunate in that a lot of my friends are in the touring industry. So between having friends in the touring industry, and then of course a lot of my client base is doing the touring,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of neat stuff coming up. 16 June, Cheryl Crow will be at Spyglass Ridge up
That's
in
wonderful.
Sunbury, and she's got a kick-ass band with Peter Stroud and Audley Freed on guitar, and Audley's wife on keyboards and female background vocals. And so I just found out that Sarah and I will be going up and hanging out for that. Sarah, in fact, right now, let me see. Let me look up what this thing is called that she's playing at. She's backing an artist named Jillian Smith, and at a huge festival. And I'll tell you what it is in just a second as I stall for time. And I open the image and blow it up, and it's the Carolina Country Festival.
All right.
And there you can see.
This is somewhere in Carolina. A lot of, I see Luke Bryan is there.
Yeah.
That's the only Low Cash. Low Cash is somebody now.
I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. This is great. This
but
is
towards
thriving.
The bottom, Jillian Smith.
This is thriving. Yeah. I did some shows with Jillian.
And Jillian's backup band is Sarah.
Okay.
So Sarah is the backup band.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So yeah, she's got that this weekend, and next weekend they're doing the Barefoot Country Festival in Jersey, Wildwood.
Right. That's wonderful.
So so that's
keeping
kind of
it
cool.
Keeping it moving and grooving.
Absolutely.
In a country sort of.
And then she's also a member of the Grant Bryant Band, which is a full rock band or a country band, and I'm actually going to be filling in on bass for a few shows here and there.
Okay.
With them, and I'm sure we'll talk about those when they're relevant. But everybody's touring, everybody's trying to play catch up for the 2 years that we lost.
Yeah.
Huge package tours this summer. The Motley Crue thing is enormous, and just in time for a lot of these bands, because
they're going to start dying.
A lot of bands had taken, and some of these tours had sold very well and then had to be canceled, and they had to either refund it or issue a credit for a future show or whatever. And that's financially a huge pain in the ass, because I mean, let's say it's $100 to go to one of these huge shows. Well, if they take the money, then they get charged 3% to take that money, and then they have to refund it. They get charged 7% to refund it. So essentially, when you can't deliver on a paid promise, it costs more than just the amount that you were paid. And then the aggravation of 100,000 people wanting a refund, and so I feel bad for a lot of the people in the offices. Now, granted, typically the office jobs, when it comes to touring, with the exception of logistics, the office jobs are pretty easy. They just sit there and process the sale and they're done. But everybody's earning their money. And so now a a lot of the bands are out there. They're playing catch up and they're hungry. And we're going to see a really good summer concert season this year. And I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm going to go see Sir Paul this Sunday in Baltimore.
Is that this Sunday?
It is. It is. And I failed to tell you. I failed to warn you
What?
that was this Sunday. So
Yeah.
you
Is
can't miss
Ringo
that.
playing with them?
No.
Good.
Somebody's one of my friends saw them both.
Yeah, I'm not a Ringo fan.
I am. It's all right.
Did you ever see my Pete
That's why there's
Best
57 varieties of Baskin Robbins ice cream.
Did you ever see my Pete Best impersonation?
No.
All right. This is acting. This is Pete
Right.
Best. You ready?
I'm watching.
You ready? Pete Best. Crap. What do you think? Huh? When I quit working on guitars, I could be a famous actor.
Or comedian.
A lot less tools.
Yes, or comedian.
And some people out there going, Pete Best? Google it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my buddy Fred makes the divided by 13 amps that Paul plays through. So
Okay.
I might wave to you.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Son.
Yes, Sir Paul. I will hate you. It'll be a hate that is pure as sunshine.
I'll take that hate. I'll take that hate. Where I'll be,
Yeah.
I won't even feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bouncers will deflect the hate.
So I will be in Baltimore this Saturday with the Old School Band.
Oh, yeah.
At the Cat's Eye in Fells Point. So I am. Cat's Eye is like I guess they're blues with Baltimore's Blues Club.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of funky blues, jazz, rockin' amalgam. They jam. They have a saxophone player who is my favorite, Baltimore-based, and I bring him up to York. He's my saxophone player whenever I have my own things going on. He's the guy I call first.
Yeah, Ezel Jones is down in Baltimore now too.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Ezel's the man.
Yeah.
Ezel played with my my former band Grumpy. He filled in, and it was back in this period I had where I just decided we weren't going to take breaks. What I would do is just try to pace it. So we'd play pretty intensely for a while, then we'd lay back, and then we'd kill it. And about 2 hours into the show, I go back to the drum riser, and Ezel, who's always impeccably dressed, he's playing and the sweat's just running down his face. He goes, "Man, we got to take a break, man." So we took a break because Ezel was going to die because he was working harder than everybody else. But that's my favorite Ezel memory. One of the best drummers ever, Ezel Jones. Ezel Jones.
Plays everything.
Hey.
Plays everything.
Since this is called At the Bench.
Yeah, let's bench this.
Let's talk about what's in front of me right now on the bench, which is a Fender Telecaster. This is a 1972 Tele thin line. The body's around here somewhere. Oh, I'd probably put it in a case for safekeeping. And what I had to do was replace the frets. Now, the frets had worn out. I threw them in the bin, not thinking that I would do that for this, but essentially what people don't realize about frets is that this is how the fret wire comes. It comes in rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, and I'm trying to figure out how to, the resolution on this camera is terrible, but there we go. You can see that the fret has, the top of the fret is called the crown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is the camera? There we go.
That's it. Yep.
Yep. And then the part that sticks into the fretboard is called the tang. And then the tang has the little kernels on it and they bite into the wood. And the way you do this is basically you cut your pieces of fret and there are slots, and then the fret goes in there, and then it's either hammered or pressed in. I prefer to hammer them in. Mm-hmm. Then you cut the sides flush and then shape it. And what we use is a file with a ground edge. Bloody hell, I am terrible at this. I am just awful at this. but you can see there's like a curved sort of shape, and that shape matches the top of the fret.
Mhm.
And when you're done, it matches it exactly.
Yeah.
And then you polish the frets, and they come out looking like that right there. So that
Is
is
that is the normal size of those frets? Or
no, these are actually, this is vintage Gibson wide oval
okay, that was my next
wire.
question.
We went up a size. The guy plays hard like I do, and these being a little larger, a little wider. Whereas, yeah, on that's the fret wire that I took out. This had been refretted once already,
All right,
and
question for you.
yeah,
If I replace the fret wire that is already on this with the, what is it, the Gibson jumbo stuff?
yeah.
What is the benefits from that?
Number one, the older wire is harder than what's used nowadays by most manufacturers, so it lasts longer. Number two, being a little bit, all right. The old fret wire you had, this is going to be a very non-technical display. But let's just say the fret wire you had before. I got people calling me. You're just gonna have to wait, bro. That guy's famous. He can do. Let's say the old frets were like skinny and tall. All right. So we'll say like that. All right. Well, the stuff that I like is a little more like this. So it's wider, being at the same height. And I like to make it just a little flatter on top, and that way when you're doing vibrato, it's a lot greasier, if you will. It's a lot smoother. And there are those that say that they can hear the difference between frets. My hearing is so bad I can't, but I can tell you that it feels better.
That is my next question.
Yeah,
Is it an
comfortable.
adjustment? Okay, good.
Yeah, no, it just basically makes it a little easier to play, and it makes your vibrato a little more controllable. Um, Especially if you if you tend to grab on a little, like I play improperly. I'm a thumb over kind of guy. I drive guys like you nuts because I don't do the put your thumb on the back. What I do is I wrap my thumb around, and then my vibrato on the higher strings I push, but on my lower ones I pull. And so this fret wire makes it a lot more comfortable for me to do what I do.
You bring your thumb back when you're like playing shreddy stuff?
Well, if there has to be some sort of distance, yes.
Yeah.
Then
So
it's
we're
impossible
we're
to
the
do
same.
that with your thumb wrapped around.
I agree.
So, but what I do,
I'm digging in. I have my thumb over there too.
yeah, and if you're doing this sort of stuff,
Yeah.
But since I'm self-taught, my thumb follows my fingers instead of my fingers following my thumb. I know jazz and classical guys, their fingers follow their thumb. And but I just kind of, whatever real estate I need to be covering, I'm going to cover. And then, but I have a tendency to have my thumb right there. And then I can't do that violin vibrato where you're going like this. My vibrato is a side to side, and I'll actually like turn my whole wrist. I'll lock my wrist, and just, it's so hard to do this with a dismembered neck here.
Yeah.
But I'll call you back. So anyway, once the frets are in, then of course the nut, if the frets are the exact same height as the ones you took out, then the nut is fine. But in this case, the frets were very worn. The nut slots had been cut down. So what I'm going to do next is fashion a new nut so that we can get the proper height. And for those of you at home, proper nut height, once your strings are stretched, my opinion is you hold the string down at the second fret and you look at how much relief you have, and you should be able to put a piece of notebook paper in between the string and the first fret. And if that's what you have, then it's great. If you can fit a business card or a quarter or a 58 Edsel underneath the string, then your nut slots are too high. And if they're too high, you're working too hard. Also, one of the biggest tuning problems is if the nut slots are too high, then when you're playing a bar at the first fret, you're actually pushing the strings off of straight. So you're actually going to make your notes sharp.
Yeah,
So nut height is critical. So go to your tech and check out and make sure that all of your nut slots are at the proper height, which is just above the first fret when holding down at the second fret.
yeah.
That's the neat little trick. So that I'm working on, and update on the Black Carina project. Let me put this out of the way. Okay, on the Black Carina project. Listen to Uncle Greg here. I haven't said who the guitars are for yet, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
But they are for somebody.
Yeah.
And that will be revealed next month when I give them to the artists.
All right. And we will have a debrief on at the bench.
Yes, and they just sent me strings.
Okay.
And I have to use their strings.
Of course. I was going to say something snarky, but no.
No, don't. Good, but I can't wait until I can tell everybody who these are for. But I can't. But the cool thing is that the details and design have been left completely up to me. And so as a result, I've been building them as if I'm building them for myself. And if for any reason the guitar player doesn't want the guitar, I will be perfectly happy playing this guitar the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. That's the secret. So where did I put it? So the neck is now on. If you're seeing this for the first time, this is Black Carina. This is Limba, and I have enhanced the grain with a neat little process involving vinegar, steel wool, and a whole lot of skullduggery. But I can't turn it around because there's something about the neck joint that I don't want everybody to see yet. But this is all, it was hand cut, hand shaped. When this was just a square piece of wood, we sliced it and I routed it out. And you can go to Greg Platzer Guitars on Instagram or Facebook, and you can see the construction of the guitar in the matching bass. And interesting thing is I actually changed horses in the middle of the stream several times because I could. And one of the things is this was originally a regular Telecaster bridge like this. And so I routed it for the pickup, and Tele pickups, of course, are mounted to the bridge, and they're very, very bright. And I wanted to add some warmth to this and also make it a little bit visually interesting. So what I did was I hacked the bridge off, and I'm going to mount the pickup solidly down into that cavity to the guitar. So it's going to act as a transducer as well and pick up some of the body vibration. And because this thing is hollowed out, the whole guitar weighs 6 pounds, all parts included. So it's very resonant. I've never been a heavy guitar fan, though I've had some heavy guitars that I really liked. But in general,
which is odd. Which is odd considering you're such a Les Paul fanatic.
Yeah, but
some of those can be ridiculously heavy.
And I don't own any of those. Okay. I had a roadie named Charlie, and I had a Nick Huber guitar, which was a hollow Carina single cut that weighed 5.5 pounds. And I had a black Les Paul custom triple pickup from 1976 or 7 that weighed 13 pounds, 13.5. And we were playing at Ye Old Ale House on the Carlisle Pike. It's not even there anymore. It's like Gilligan's now or something. And I opened with the Les Paul, and we played 3 songs in a row, and then we had a really quick changeover. So I would take the guitar off and hand him the Les Paul, and he would hand me the next guitar, which in this case, he selected the Huber next. Well, the Huber weighing almost 1/3, I handed him the Les Paul, and psychologically, my brain just accepted that the guitars would weigh the same. Didn't even think about it. And when he handed me the Huber, I got to be careful here when I demonstrate this. I went, and I almost threw the guitar at the ceiling because it weighed so much less.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are heavy guitars that sound great, but they're an anomaly. In general, acoustic guitars are lighter because you want the thing to resonate. There are those, especially those that play very heavy music, where it's all about the strings and the pickup, and they don't want body resonance. For me, I want body resonance. And so for me, I want a lighter guitar. My lifetime guitar is a 59 Les Paul TV Junior. That weighs 6.2 pounds. That's been through hell. 2 headstock brakes. It's got so much checking. I've only literally only sprayed polish on the cloth and wiped it down once because the polish just disappeared. It just there's no surface on this. So I just wipe it down with a microfiber, get the sweat off of it. But that's my go-to guitar. And with that guitar, with a single pickup that is mounted directly into the wood, by manipulating the controls, you can get so many different sounds. And that's the thing. Now you'll notice this just has a single volume, and actually made the knob. I have, this is the material. It's an acetate, and I call it my leopard stuff. And it came from somewhere in China. I saw on one of the guitar building forums, a guy had bought some of this stuff for a heinously high price. And he had to buy a large quantity. And he said, yeah, I had to buy like 16 sheets of this, just so I could get it. And so I contacted him. I said, look, I'm good for several sheets. And, so he told me how much it would be, and we did the money transfer, and then he sent me the stuff. And what you can see, it's not even shiny. It doesn't like to be shiny. The material's fairly soft, but when you polish something, you actually heat it up, and when this stuff gets hot, it starts to warp and smoke and do terrible things. So it's a bit of work. So what I did was I stacked up the material. I stacked up the material and then drilled it and polished it all up and created knobs. And actually, I'll show you the bass too. So here's the guitar in total. And the maple, I used an old antiquer's trick to change the color of the maple, to darken the maple. And then you can see that I antiqued all the hardware. So it looks nasty, but it actually works better than it did.
But you put it in a can and shake it up?
No.
You're not going to tell us it.
And then this is so that the guitar hangs on the strap properly, because since we have an upside down guitar, if ordinarily the strap would be hanging off this point, which would put it right there. And what I do is I made this extension so that the strap will hold out. And then on this end, it's got a strap lock that's actually recessed into the guitar. And it all came about because this artist saw this that I had built for myself. And hey, look, there's some leopard knobs and leopard pick guard.
That's the same stuff?
Same stuff. Yeah, this is Carina as well. This is
meaning the leopard. That's
that's
the order. Yeah.
There we go. And it's impossible to get the leopard to a super gloss, but you can get it close.
Yeah.
Again, the reverse headstock. And on this one, I actually dyed the maple with an amber stain and then sanded it off and then sprayed it with an ambered clear, and that really enhanced the grain. And that wood is the same wood. Same wood, but look at the totally different look.
Yeah.
All right. You see that? And I will say that part of what I did on this was I did a couple things, and then I took my Harley chopper and I went for a nice long ride, got the oil good and hot, drained a little bit, and then rubbed it into the wood on the neck. I heated up the wood to open up the cells of the cellulose, and I rubbed this, burned up Harley Davidson oil, motorcycle oil into it. And it really did a neat thing. The softwood, the cellulose absorbed it, the hardwood rejected it, and gave us this great look. Let me grab the base. I'm walking around all the cases on the floor because I ran out of storage because I've accepted too much work. So I'm going to stop accepting work. Here is the base. And the whole idea for this came about because the player really likes old Fender precision basses. And so I said, well, I'm going to do a variation on the theme. And I built him an upside down one.
Mhm.
But of course, controls being on the proper side. And on this one, I don't know if we'll be able to tell or not. No, we won't. But the black dots actually have red dots in them. And then there's red dots up the side of the fingerboard.
Wonderful.
But the black Carina is neat. Now, Carina is limba, and it's similar to mahogany, but it's lighter. And the reason this is called black Carina is because this tree that this wood is taken from grew near water. And what it did was it absorbed minerals up out of the water. And the structure of the wood is so light and so transparent that the minerals show. So if you look, you can see those, that would have been the bark and this, that, whatever. And you can see how the minerals were drawn up into the tree.
That's wonderful.
So cool stuff. A lot of fun. Lot of fun. And in fact, just to bring this all the way, bring it to a circle, I have back here
a washboard.
No. This is more of that same black Carina that those two guitars are made out of. And here you can see I experimented on my process to enhance the grain. So you can see there before and after the enhancement, and different places where I actually, used a little more and a little less to try to get the look I wanted. But the idea was to take what was already there and make it a little more striking. And rule number one, you don't ever experiment on customer piece. So I did this, and you can see all over it. Here's an area where I did it, and I did it with a straight line so I could tell clearly. Went all the way down to there, two different processes, and then a couple of different processes. And without all that stuff, it's just boring. So, but neat stuff.
It's fascinating.
Carina.
It seems like it's part scientific, part complete artistry.
Yeah, and part holy shit.
Part what?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, most commonly Carina is associated with the Gibson modernistic guitars of the late 50s, the Flying V and the Explorer. They were made out of Carina. And then Fender actually in 65 made some Carina Strats, but didn't tell anybody. They're experimenting with different woods. And I have a friend who has a Sunburst 65 4 or 5 Strat that the body's actually limbo. It's Carina. So fun stuff. Yeah. And relatively soon I'll reveal who the artist is, and I will not respond to people guessing. But why am I not saying it? I've had people say, well, why don't you just tell everybody who it is? The people that know, why don't you tell everybody? Because it's really nobody's business until they decide that they want their name associated.
Yeah.
If I start using names for people that I'm building guitars for, I think that's that's abuse. That's abuse of a relationship. And so I don't want.
You can't build relationships on that.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I get to work with a lot of these artists, I've toured with a lot of people and I've worked with a lot of people, is because I don't take up their time. I'm not important to them. And I realize that. And so you wouldn't believe the phone numbers I have that I don't use, because it just doesn't, their life was just fine before they met me, and it'll be just fine after they no longer deal with me. So while they're dealing with me, I want it to pretty much be unchanged. And I've said before, the way to stay in business in this industry where everybody knows everybody, the best way to stay in business is don't give anybody a reason to not do business with you.
Hmm.
Sarah and I have a very good friend who's a guitar player in a very popular country band. And he says often, he's like, I'm not the best guitar player. He said, but I'm the easiest to get along with. And
I've heard that over and over and over again.
yeah,
It's like the
and
people
he's got a,
skills, the people skills are that's the difference between whether you can keep a gig often. Because you can be the greatest guitar player in the world, but if you're not if you're hard to get along with.
and along comes Engve and pushes that over. But
Well,
uh
no. Here's what Ingve, which
Engve,
we gotta say that his backup band is also his what was it? Is it true, or is this just a rumor that we need to dispel that his
go ahead.
backup band is also the road crew?
Yes, yes, yeah, he's too cheap. He hates singers, so he does the singing.
Yeah, I
If
just
you don't
read.
want to pay
I
singers.
just
In
read.
fact, Jeff Scott Soto
Yes.
sang on Rising Force, amazing vocalist,
Yeah.
was at an event. Engve heard, said he would not get on stage until Jeff Scott Soto had been taken out of the building. I mean, what kind of human being does this? Yeah, at the show where I was at recently while they were setting up, the road crew set stuff up and then sat down at the instruments, and I thought, wow, they've got the warm up band or the sound check band too, and one of the guys
No,
for
we
the
are.
venue said, no, they are the band, and I thought, wow, I mean, I don't know,
So the 40 amplifiers he had to set up on the stage.
the wall of shame.
So,
Most of those they're all real, but most of them they have tape on the back. One says like blown transformer, one says no tubes. Um, Only one amp is hooked up.
yeah. Well, of
It's
course.
it's just an
And
egregious
I
display.
I understand that. I understand some of that is like sometimes bigger is better or more is better. That's I guess Ingve saying
When
it's
you're
like
talking about steaks and brownies, yes.
well that yeah in his particular craft put as much
Well,
crap.
I tell you what, there's musicians and then there's entertainers.
Mhm.
And David Lee Roth, absolutely terrible vocalist, but one of the best frontmen ever.
Mhm.
Um, so and my friends that are Ingve fans that went afterwards, they're like, Greg, you're ragging on Ingve, but that was such a great show. And he lost a lot of weight and he looks good. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. You know,
Stopped eating donuts.
if well, oh yeah, we were gonna bring donuts. We're not going to go down that road. But you know what? People dig it, and like there's this Japanese band called Baby Metal. I think they're freaking cool. And a lot of people hate them. But I'm entertained by them. And that's what I want. I want to be entertained. You can't hold every entertainer to the same standard. Frank Sinatra, absolutely masterful singer. A lot of his material, I don't know. My dad was a huge Sinatra fan. I grew up listening to Sinatra.
Mhm.
Nelson Riddle Orchestra did a lot of the arrangements and stuff.
Yep.
What I didn't know until I got older was Sinatra did most of those songs in one take. He would practice the song, go into the studio, they'd cue it up, and he was so good in the studio because he practiced his stuff that here's the microphone. He would actually modulate his volume by moving away and
You
moving close
know,
to the microphone.
Frank Sinatra is one of those guys that the older I get, and I keep finding out new and new things about him.
Yeah.
He was a complete, and he didn't brag about it.
Well, he
In
didn't
other
have
words,
to.
all these things we're hearing about it, we're hearing like 20 years after his death.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, he that
Yeah,
whole
he gets better with age.
that whole bunch, like Sammy Davis, what an amazing entertainer he was.
Mhm.
And just imagine, being a short black Jewish guy in the 50s. He had everything against him, and he still absolutely smoked everybody. He was so good. And
Mhm.
you listen to some of that stuff, and a lot of the stuff that those guys did is really still relevant. Um,
Well, Sinatra's more relevant now than I would say more relevant, but he's in my world more than he ever has been when he was
yeah.
alive.
Well, and you get guys like Michael Bublé out there who's
Mhm.
basically continuing that whole,
Tradition.
swagger singer sort of thing, which
Yeah.
is cool, which is cool. But you can't expect that Frank Sinatra and Randy Newman and Slayer are all going to give you the same product. It's just not going to happen. And so yes, there's no secret that I'm not an Yngwie fan, but I appreciate the two solos that he plays over and over and over. But
I like his first album. I like the Steeler album.
yeah,
I think the first album's masterful, but I think I don't know.
Once you said it, you don't need to keep repeating.
I don't want to hear the same album over and over again. That's
but then there's like the story.
And he's not very likable. That's the other thing. He's not very likable.
The story about Angus Young, where an interviewer in Guitar World several years ago said, "What do you say to the critics that say you've released 13 albums of the same old shit?"
You're right.
And he said, "It's 14 albums." That's awesome. I mean, if the AC/DC fans, of which I am one, I want the new record to sound like all the other records.
Yes.
You know,
we don't need to say an anger AC/DC.
I love David Bowie.
Yeah.
But there's some Bowie records I want. Lodger, I can't even, no.
I don't even know that one.
But you know, the Spiders and Changes, oh my God, you know, like there's certain records that are masterful. And so I like certain Bowie periods.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, like if I were to go see Bowie, were he to be still alive, I know that even the music that I didn't care for would still be delivered extremely well. There's a quality standard there.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Queen, one of the greatest bands of all time, but Hot Space exists, you know, it's like, you know, so I'll take the stuff I like and I'm willing to walk past the stuff I don't.
Was that before, was Hot Space
after Jazz?
Huh?
It was after Jazz.
Yeah. Was it before Freddie left the band to do a solo thing? When was that? When did that go down?
About the same time.
Okay, that
was
the
same time. Yeah, Freddie was deep in his addictions, and the whole AIDS thing was really cranking along, and he was denying his mortality, and he was basically just doing whatever he wanted, and he was listening to the wrong people.
Yeah.
And the band grew tired of his histrionics and this and that, whatever. So there was that time. The movie that was out recently, actually, the timeline got a little flopped in that. He had actually been back for a while before they did the Wembley Stadium gig. And I don't.
So the Wembley Stadium gig wasn't the thing that got him back together.
No, and I think that he actually did not reveal his illness until after that, whereas in the movie they had him revealing it before. Mm-hmm. They took some liberties. You know, they never even mentioned Roy Thomas Baker in that movie, which really surprised me because Roy Thomas Baker,
he was
before Mac, he was the producer, and I think the Roy Thomas Baker stuff is the stuff that still holds up.
Yeah.
But
that's all I know. Your Queen knowledge is more than me. I think of Queen, I think of Roy Thomas Baker.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what happened after. I didn't know he left.
Well, they bought a studio in Switzerland because it would just be cheaper. Mm-hmm. But they started recording in Germany with Mac, and where the studio was in Germany, there was a lot of club scene around it, and Freddie kind of went off the deep end with that, and some of the members of the band were now married, so they weren't confidants as much as they were business partners by that point. Mm-hmm. And poor Freddie, he just wanted a significant other that he could rely on, and he couldn't find because Mary had gotten married by then. And so, I mean, really, the story of Queen is the story of a tragedy of an amazingly talented young man who just never found
who got everything he wanted or what he thought he wanted, and it wasn't
everything but love. He got everything but love, and it's just sad. It's sad. He was tortured genius, and but you know, nothing we can do about it now. Mm-hmm. I just hope he's at peace now. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so Leopard. By the way, I started a little side project. I'm actually making Les Paul jack plates out of the cutoffs. When I make a pickguard, I have waste. Unusually shaped waste. So what I do is I make parts out of the waste So we're going to see that leopard on a whole bunch of other guitars as well. And I'm trying to buy more because I really like it. I've gone through all the material that I had.
Yeah.
I still have to do pickguards for these two. So this is it. And I have to get 2 pickguards out of this piece of material for these 2 guitars. So I had to drive down to Maryland and deliver a vintage Gibson today. And driving back, I was thinking about how I'm going to do this. And one of the joys of not having a very strict parameter laid upon me is I can just do what I want within reason. I mean, I can't make a pickguard shape like a fire hydrant, for God's sake, or something like that. But it's kind of cool that I'm just kind of going through. And what I'm probably going to do, and I'll say this now, but it might change, is when I did this pickguard, if you look close, what do you see? If you look at that shape,
Is it like Rorschach ink blocks kind of thing with the? I see demons.
well, I mean, in the shape of the pickguard, though.
It looks like a dog.
Well, it's actually it's almost a Les Paul Jr. pickguard.
Yeah, but it looks like a dog. Looks like
a dog.
The face
It
of
does.
a
Yeah,
dog.
he's sniffing the knob.
Right.
And his ears are back.
Right.
Because he doesn't like the smell of the knob.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
sticky knob.
There's a whole narrative we could do it. Yeah, it's a Dalmatian head.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm debating whether or not I'm going to just continue this shape onto these guitars or do something totally different. That's relevant to the band. And I think I'm just going to work with this, but I don't know.
For the band.
So when we get back together next week, I should have the pickguards done because we're getting very close to reveal. I can't wait to reveal.
Good.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a really good.
So you got a band thing going.
I have a band thing going. I've been doing an acoustic duo thing with Brian Seneca, who was in Trouble Walking, Bamboo Igloo, and can't remember the other band name.
The Trouble Walking, that's an Ace Frehley tribute band.
Well, it was heavily influenced by Ace Frehley. I guess. That was back in the 80s.
Got it.
When I was in Citizen Kane, he was in Trouble Walking. We played the same circuit and everything. Brian's an amazingly talented singer and guitar player.
Okay.
And he's a big dumb Italian boxer. And
meant in the best sort of way.
Yeah, he said on stage the other night that I'm the talent and he's the eye candy, which
we know that's not
No, I'm clearly not the eye candy though. But I mean, if you want a foot with long hair, you look at me. But anyway, so we're putting together a band and going to use Michael Hilligus on drums, who when I was in Grumpy, our drummer left for Honey Pump, and we spent almost a year auditioning drummers and settled on Michael Hilligus, and then we did one gig and then we broke up. And so we're going to be using Michael, and I'm in the audition phase with bass players, and you, sir, are one of the auditionees.
Yes.
So we'll see how that works out.
Once you see me, there will be no others.
Well,
throwing it down. I'm throwing the gauntlet down.
You're bringing the color. You're bringing the
That's
color.
Right. I'm bringing the sexy meter up.
and yeah, sure. But yeah, the whole thing about the band, and I won't use the name yet. I put a post on Facebook about that we were looking for a bass player that could basically play any song he doesn't know in front of an audience, and I forget what the parameters were, but it sounded like an impossible thing. And some clown from down in Maryland, it's like, well, any bass player that would fit that description would hate the music or some sort of crap like that. And it's like, dude, you just don't get it. What we do is Brian and I literally at our gig on Saturday night, people were yelling out songs and we were playing them, and we don't need to know them to play them.
Yeah.
And Brian has this amazing memory. Like, he can hear a song, he can remember the words or get reasonably close. And he's a terrific guitar player. So with two guys with acoustic guitars and vocals, we can cover a lot of ground, but it just doesn't slam. And you need to
electrify that thing too.
Well, yeah. And the cool thing is this will be the first band that I ever started that I don't plan on doing anything with. I mean, this is just going to be, we're going to get together. We play the first Saturday of every month at the Blue Sky Tavern in Edders, which is a fantastic place. It's one of the few places I play at that I actually eat there when I'm not playing. And it's he's got an Allman Brothers theme going there and Government Mule and stuff.
Mhm.
Eric Fee, the owner,
Yeah.
um, terrific guy, gave me the first Saturday of every month and forever. So when Grumpy broke up, I said, well, how about if I bring Brian, my buddy Brian, we do acoustic? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so now ramping it up to electric, I think it'll be a really, really good time and great venue, easy on and off from the highway, terrific food, fantastic staff. The guy knows how to hire.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to just having the monthly band blowout, have a really, really good time, but I don't plan on doing an album with this band. I don't plan on taking this band on the road.
That's, honestly though, that might be the best kind of thing, the best kind of attitude going into it.
Yeah.
Accept it for what it's going to do.
Yeah.
If it's going to do something really cool, you won't stop it either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, opportunities are always
Yeah.
there. But if it came between, all right, do we sacrifice what we have to make a leap, or do we keep what we have and the devil be damned, we're going to keep what we have. We're going to play it safe with this because I like the idea of playing the first Saturday of every month and being able to bring some of these cool guitars out. One of the neat things about my job is that I have access to all these amazing guitars, and I have never, ever had a client tell me, no, you cannot take my guitar to a gig. And most of my clients tell me, if you want to take it out to a gig and field test it before you send it back to me, go right ahead. So as a result, I have access to all kinds of really cool tools, and I want to bring them out and have fun with them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, our next gig is the first Saturday in July, which is what, 3 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we might do is do like acoustic set and then 2 electric sets. And I'm gonna bring these. I want to play these.
Okay.
So, I want to put some genuine wear on them before I hand them to them. And but it's the interesting thing, non-musicians won't understand this, but when you're a musician and when you played, like I've played to huge crowds back in the day, and I'll never do that again. God bless Sarah. She's playing to a huge crowd tonight, and it's her time. And I had my time. I was a young lion, like showing up in a weird town, not knowing anything. Back in the day when every club was in a strip mall and there was a laundromat on one side and a pizza joint on the other side, and the hotel was around the corner, and you chose to sleep in the van instead of the hotel half the time. And those were great times. But it's changed so much. I like sleeping in my own bed. I like liking the people that I'm playing with.
That's essential.
Yeah. I mean,
no, I in my older age, I can't work with people I don't like.
Right.
It's not, because it's energy.
Well,
for me, unless it feels like church, it's not worth it.
Yeah. And it creativity can be stifled with the tiniest of negativity. Creativity is such a positive, like creativity and love are the same thing. That you don't know where they come from, but they sure are enjoyable. And you can ruin both with the tiniest kernel of negativity. And I'm tired of negativity. I'm 58 years old, man. I'm not going anywhere. So I'm going to enjoy what I have as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the best work I can on the coolest guitars for the coolest people and hang out with cool people and just try to be positive, man. And
it's a good way. It's a good way.
We all have negativity in our past, and there's some things that I'll never ever live down, some mistakes that I've made that I'll never ever be able to make right. But my hope is that I won't make any mistakes that big in the future.
Mm-hmm. That's all we can ask. That's all we can ask.
So, yeah. So
hey, that is it for this week.
Look at the time.
We will. Yeah, it was much needed.
Yeah, it was nice said, I haven't seen you in a while, and
Yeah, yeah.
the purple looks
And
good, brother.
I want to. I'm like I'm looking at like what I want to get. Oh yeah, you're not taking in new customers.
I'm not. No, I literally cannot take on any more work probably until September or so, because I
Yeah,
just have so much stuff.
wonderful.
And I had, I sold my store last July, and then August 2nd last year, I had my right shoulder repaired. And so for, forever, I couldn't even use my right arm. I couldn't even cross my arms until February of this year. And I still have a problem getting my elbow up. Because I just don't have those muscles anymore. When I wrecked my bike, I destroyed some muscles. And so the muscles that are still
That was
there
a
have
was that was what happened. That was a motorcycle accident that you
it was
got
a
into?
motorcycle. Yeah. Yeah. It was 6 years ago. I was going around a corner and this girl was coming up my side of the street. Um, and she was looking at her phone, because I looked at her and I saw her eyes come up, and then her headlights went down as she hit the brakes. And it had rained the night before, and I grabbed a little too much front brake, and the bike just went poof. And so I bounced off my shoulder, slid across the road, and she fled. And I got up and I was pissed, and I was riding a Harley Sportster, which is 485 pounds. And I was so pissed, and I picked the bike up like a bicycle. I yanked it up. And so what damage I did going down, I doubled it by lifting the bike up. Instead of carefully lifting the bike up like that, I just picked it up. And it was dumb, but that's what adrenaline will do to you. And so after several years, it just got harder and harder to use my right arm, and it got to the point where I had to have it done.
Mhm.
And Dr. Nadu, my surgeon, is absolutely amazing. And he did my left shoulder back in 2010. I was on tour with the New York Dolls, and I ripped it up doing a festival in Europe. Oh, and I hear Stelly barking, so it's time for Stella to go out. So Stella, my little Westie,
Alrighty.
so I'm going to flee the scene.
All right. We're at the bench. We were at the bench. We will be at the bench next week.
Hopefully, God willing.
See you. Yep. And be good to each other.
Yeah, be good to each other.
Don't be dumb. Just be good to each other.
Keep sending in those theme song ideas.
Yes. And
We'll choose one. We'll choose one, and it'll be cool.
Yes. Absolutely. All right. See you guys.
Peace.